The small town of Everwood had many legends, but none as terrifying as the haunted forest. The dense, dark woods on the outskirts of town were said to be home to restless spirits, eerie whispers, and unexplained phenomena. For generations, locals had passed down stories of those who entered the forest and never returned. Despite the warnings, a group of friends decided to face the challenge head-on. Emily, Jake, Sarah, and Mark were thrill-seekers by nature. They had explored abandoned buildings and urban legends before, but this time, they were determined to document their experience in the haunted forest. Armed with cameras, flashlights, and a sense of adventure, they set out one crisp autumn evening. As the sun dipped below the horizon and cast long shadows over the landscape. As they entered the forest, the atmosphere changed. The trees seemed to close in around them, blocking out the remaining light. The air grew colder, and the thick fog began to roll in, adding to the eerie ambience. The friends laughed nervously, trying to shake off the growing sense of unease. Emily, the group's leader, pulled out her camera and began filming. "All right, guys, we're officially in the haunted forest. Let's see if any of those ghost stories are true." They ventured deeper into the woods, following a narrow, winding path. The sounds of the town faded away, replaced by the rustling of leaves and distant hoots of owls. As they walked, they noticed strange markings on the trees, symbols that none of them recognized. It wasn't long before the group experienced their first eerie event. Sarah, who had been lagging behind, suddenly screamed. The others rushed back to find her staring at a tree, her face pale. "What's wrong?" Jake asked, trying to steady her. Sarah pointed to the tree. "I saw ... a figure. It was standing right there, staring at me." The others looked around, but saw nothing. Mark tried to reassure her. "It was probably just your imagination, Sarah. Let's keep moving." But Sarah remained unconvinced. As they continued, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. As they delved deeper into the forest, strange sounds began to fill the air. Faint whispers seemed to come from all directions, growing louder and more distinct with each step. The friends exchanged uneasy glances, their earlier bravado fading. "Did you guys hear that?" Emily asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Yeah," Jake replied. "It's like voices." They stopped to listen. The whispers were incoherent, but there was a distinct sense of malice in them. Suddenly, the whispers ceased, replaced by a chilling silence. In the growing darkness, the friends realized they had strayed from the path. Panic set in as they tried to retrace their steps, but the forest seemed to shift and change around them. Landmarks they thought they recognized had vanished, replaced by unfamiliar terrain. "We're lost," Mark admitted, his voice tight with fear. Emily tried to keep her cool. "Let's stay calm. We'll find our way out." But as they pressed on, the forest seemed to close in even more, and the whispers returned, now accompanied by the sound of footsteps trailing them. Jake, who had been filming the entire time, suddenly stopped. "Guys, look at this." He played back a section of the video. There, in the background, was a faint, ghostly figure, a woman in a long dress, her eyes hollow and dark. "Is that ... real?" Sarah whispered, her fear growing. Before they could discuss it further, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the forest. It was coming from up ahead. Against their better judgment, they decided to investigate. They followed the sound to a small clearing, where they found an old, decrepit cabin. The door creaked open, and an overwhelming sense of dread washed over them. "We shouldn't go in there," Mark warned, but Emily was determined to uncover the truth. They stepped inside, the air thick with dust and decay. The cabin was filled with old furniture, covered in cobwebs. On the walls were more of the strange symbols they had seen earlier. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them, and the temperature plummeted. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. A cold wind swept through the cabin, extinguishing their flashlights. In the pitch darkness, they fumbled for their flashlights. When they managed to turn them back on, they found themselves surrounded by ghostly figures, their faces twisted in agony. "Leave this place," a voice boomed, shaking the walls of the cabin. The friends screamed and bolted for the door, but it wouldn't budge. The spirits closed in, their hands reaching out, their whispers now deafening. In a final act of desperation, Emily screamed, "We're sorry, we're leaving." The door suddenly flew open, and they stumbled out into the clearing. The forest seemed to part, showing them the way back to the town. They ran without looking back, their hearts pounding. They burst out of the forest, collapsing onto the grass. They were safe, but forever changed. The footage they had captured was enough to convince even the most skeptical townsfolk that the haunted forest was not just a legend. From that night on, the friends never spoke of what they had seen. They had survived a night of terror, but the memories and the whispers of the haunted forest would haunt them forever.